Joining me now is Greg Sheridan, foreign editor at The Australian. And Greg, thanks for joining us. The war, it keeps going, doesn't it? Looks like it's going to go for months now, to be honest. And you've written a piece critical of Joe Biden's role in the war, saying that while Putin is able to deter Biden, Biden cannot deter Putin so far. Take us through that argument.
Well, Andrew, great to be with you. So in the lead up to the war, Biden gave that disastrous press conference where he said a small incursion wouldn't generate a big American response and that he thought Putin had to do something. He also guaranteed Putin that there would be no US military intervention. He took US troops out of Ukraine where they were peacefully training Ukrainian troops. He sort of did everything he could to clear the way for Putin to invade. And he broadcast such kind of weakness that I think he led Putin to underestimate how tough the sanctions would be. And then after the war, Biden hasn't really led on sanctions, he's really followed. But then the Poles wanted to give 28 MiG, Soviet-era MiG jets to the Ukrainian Air Force, which knows how to fly those jets. And the American military was all in favour of it, and the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was saying, yeah, we're just organising the practicalities right now. And then Joe Biden personally vetoed it, apparently because Putin had made his nuclear threats and said that deliveries of weapons from NATO would be a target for Russian forces. So Putin can threaten Biden and change his actions, but Biden cannot threaten Putin and change his actions. And given how infinitely more powerful the United States is than Russia, that's a very sad state of affairs.
Could there be a disclaimer there, though, in the fact that perhaps because of what America and Europe are doing, Putin won't go further, won't go into Poland? Or is that just because Ukraine is such a hard task? Although I do agree with you. I mean, you saw Donald Trump say saying you'll see force like you've never seen. And there's just no language like that at all from Joe Biden, is there?
No, none at all. I mean, the Defence Secretary, Lloyd Austin, is missing in action. When Putin made his nuclear threats, Biden made no response. And, you've got to be very responsible about nuclear weapons and nuclear talk. But nuclear deterrence is based on the idea that if you use a nuclear weapon, you'll be hit by a nuclear weapon. And if the other side doesn't believe you've got the nerve to do it, then they're unconstrained. However, Andrew, let me alert you today, there is some hope, I think, because two things have happened today. Volodymyr Zelensky has said now that Ukraine won't join NATO and understands that, and he believes his people accept that. And Putin has said to the Finnish Prime Minister that he doesn't see regime change in Kyiv as a red line for Russia. Now, I think that gives us the basis of a deal in which Russia keeps the eastern half of Ukraine that it has conquered, and it's a terrible thing that Russia gets that, but, there's no prospect that Russia is going to just kind of say it got everything wrong and withdraw its troops. And in exchange, Ukraine promises never to join NATO. NATO probably ratifies that promise. And you get half of Western Ukraine remaining as an independent nation. Now, that's a magnificent achievement for the Ukrainians at one level because it's only their fierce resistance that has made their national survival possible. At the same time, it's a very big strategic gain for Vladimir Putin, but it does give him an off-ramp. He can stop the killing now. And there'll be a million things still to negotiate about that. How much territory on the Black Sea does he take? Does he take Odessa? How much sanctions relief does he get for a ceasefire? But I've written a piece for our website today where I think this is the most significant thing that's happened as the war enters its fourth week. I think this is the most significant political move that we've seen, and it just gives us the glimmer of a hope that there might be a ceasefire in the works.
Well, we certainly hope for that. Just very briefly, haven't got long left. Wanted to ask about Scott Morrison saying yesterday we'll have US and UK nuclear submarines basing here at these bases before we get any submarine. And can Anthony Albanese be believed when he says I'm all the way with Scott Morrison on this stuff?
So I certainly think Albo has kind of made all the right statements. There's very, very big question mark over Labor's record and so forth, but, you've got to take yes for an answer. I'm not sure that Morrison thinks the US and UK will base subs here, but they'll be very frequent visitors. But my chief reaction to that, Andrew, is that is still no capability for Australia. Dennis Richardson, whom I admire greatly at the National Press Club today, said maybe by 2044 we'll have 2 nuclear subs and 3 old Collins remaining, and we'll be more capable than we are today. Well, that means in 22 years we'll have 5 subs instead of the 6 that we've got today, but 2 of them might be nuclear if we're lucky and everything goes right. Now, having American subs transiting here or even based here is a fabulous thing. I'm all in favour of that. But that is not an Australian defence capability. That is just, we are like, Paulie in the Rocky movies saying, go get him, champ, hit him harder, and we're on the sidelines doing nothing.
Greg, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.